In this Film Rage interview session, we're joined by Elyse Bouvier, director of the short film Unfolding Faith, soon to be featured in the Real and True Shorts package at the 2025 Calgary International Film Festival. Elyse is an accomplished filmmaker, photographer, and writer whose work has been showcased internationally. Elyse, thank you for being here. It is a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and get to talk a little bit about my work and my film.
Sounds good.
Nice. Well, we could not be more excited. And I get sometimes a little too excited, and he might have to make faces at me, or he's allowed to slap me. It's kind of our thing. So, okay, so we're going to jump into a game we like to play called Or. Are you ready for this?
Okay.
All right. Okay.
I think so.
These
are
going to be super tough for you. I'm absolutely positive of that. Photography or directing?
Ooh, directing.
All right. Oh, the love. I see. I love it. Okay. Annie Leibovitz or Ann Geddes?
Oh, I don't think I really care either way.
That's fair.
That's a fair answer. I love that answer, actually. That's the best. Okay. Being Calgarian, you'll know this. Spalumbo's or Vegan Street?
Ooh, I guess Spalumbo's.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Free Solo. Do you know the film Free Solo, by the way?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Free Solo or Jaws?
Oh, Free Solo.
Okay. Nice. And the last one, being from Vulcan, Klingon or Romulan?
You know, I really don't know much about Star Trek, so I don't even know how to answer that. I guess we'll go with Klingon.
Nice.
I like the way it sounds.
Perfect.
You mean
Is that the right answer? Is that the right answer?
That is correct.
That's
100% correct.
There's actually no right answer for any of these. But, we just love to get people thinking. But yeah, I'm surprised they didn't make you learn how to speak Klingon, because didn't you actually go and do some work there in the old town of Vulcan?
Yeah, I did do a photo project down there with a collaborator, and we spent the weekend at Vulcan in Vulcan.
Nice.
And there were people who had come from all over the world, and it inspired me in the moment to maybe learn a little bit more about Star Trek and watch some episodes, but then I tried to watch an episode and failed. So,
That can happen, and I get it.
Yeah, Bryce gets it. Bryce is not a sci-fi fan, by the way, so.
Fair enough.
Okay, now we're getting to the meat here. So first off, congrats on landing NFB. How did all this come about? This is awesome, by the way.
Thank you. I have a background in documentary, mostly photography. I had done a master's program in Toronto at Toronto Metropolitan University in documentary media. So, I studied a lot of documentary film as well as other forms of documentary. So I always kind of thought that I would eventually make a film. I focused on photography in that program. And then I kind of started thinking about this idea several years ago, talking with my dad, and I was like, it's such an interesting story. My dad was an atheist, and now he was a pastor, and now he's an atheist, other way around. And how that is a really interesting story that I think a lot of people would like to hear about. And so it kind of started there, a little bit about my dad's story specifically. So I was working on I applied for an AFA grant to get some development funding, and was, talking to people to help me, work out how to do this as a new filmmaker. And I had reached out to Jillian McKercher of KinoSum, and she kind of was going to help me with some of the development at the time. And when I didn't get the grant that I applied for, she was the one who was like, oh, you should probably meet David Christensen. I think the NFB might be really interested in your film. So kind of like that's it. Then the rest is history. You know, there was a whole process of kind of chatting with David and figuring out how this would work as a film, and then we did a full investigate kind of look into the story and really developed it more from there. And yeah, I feel very fortunate to have worked with the NFB. They're amazing, especially as a new filmmaker. But, you know, there was a lot of imposter syndrome at first, but then I kind of realized how much of my other background really came in to help me make this film and do the story. So, yeah, that's it.
That's awesome. That's so cool. We're big fans. I have a collector's t-shirt that's probably, I don't know, 20 years old. That is the logo, the NFB logo that Roots did way back. So it's in my closet safely collecting moth dust, I think.
That's very cool. I definitely grew up on a lot of the NFB, and my dad was a big Bill Mason fan, if you know. Yeah. So that's NFB is a whole part of my childhood too. Nice.
For I'm not going to try and guess how old you are, but I imagine, you know, that you're pretty well schooled in all, like, because of all their documentary research, right? Like that's pretty cool, because a lot of people wouldn't. So kudos. Now, you shoot everything from landscapes to weddings to you name it. Beyond paying the bills, what makes you say yes to a project?
For photography? Well, I've really narrowed it down. I don't freelance full time anymore, so that I can be really picky, I guess, and make it more of an artistic practice and less of a pay the bills practice. I decided to kind of shift away from that and give myself time to, you know, pay the bills some other way and focus on like the creative projects. So now I can say yes to, you know, the things that are really exciting to me. In the last few years, it's been because I've been working on the film. I haven't done as many photography projects that I would like to do. But I've been working with the Esker Foundation in Inglewood for many, many years, almost a decade actually at this point. So I love working with them, and I get to kind of do my thing at their events, and I'm like watching people look at art and kind of walking around and looking for new ways that I can engage with my camera and engage with the people. So I do love looking at how people will engage with the world around them. So I love events like that. And then, you know, I do a wedding every now and again. It's usually for like a friend or a friend of a friend, and usually in some sort of art circles who are looking for something a little bit different than the big wedding photographers. So that's kind of where I've been lately. I do get to do some portraits and kind of journalistic portraits through my work. So that's really also fulfilling, but it's definitely it hasn't been as much of a part of my life in the last few years with focusing on the film.
Yeah, no doubt. And probably for maybe never again. Who knows, right?
Maybe.
So as far as kind of going from photography to directing, what overlaps do you see between the two?
There's quite a lot. I mean, obviously how you see things through the frame, through the lens, is different, but there's enough similarities there that I was able to, you know, really still have a very clear vision in terms of the looks of the film. And so I feel like that's a strength of mine that I can bring, that I, you know, have already studied so much about visuals and light and how those things affect, story. So adding in the extra movement and sound and all of that, obviously changes things a little bit, but overall, I think that helped me really start to visualize the film. And then I would just say too, just in terms of like the storytelling, I've always been a really big fan of photo books. And so I've studied that a lot. And while very different, there's still kind of a linear storytelling pattern that can come out through the imagery. So I think, working out the storytelling side comes from that experience, comes from the experience of writing, and it all kind of layers in together to, be able to envision what the final film can be.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So it sounds like a natural progression there. So the technical photography background, it made things easier?
I think so, but I really was, I was so fortunate to work with Patrick McLaughlin, and he's just a wonderful director of photography, and I was able to work really closely with him that I didn't have to deal with the technical. And so that's why even, you asked me, photographer or director, I have never been a really technical person. Okay. I obviously know from decades of working in this, but my interest is so much more in the human experience and the story and how I can visually show that. So working with someone who could take care of that technical detail while still, providing the vision that I had, that was really such a wonderful experience.
Yeah, it's so important to have good people around you, good crew. That's what makes the film something special, is when you all come together like that, eh?
Yeah, definitely. That's a huge, huge part of it. So,
well, especially for you think of your first project. For you, the vulnerability that you would have had to have to be able to release certain things into the wild or into the contained, right? To be able to say, you know what, I trust you, I trust my partners, I have this vision, and it's, as long as it's coming around like you feel it's coming. And trust me, we see a lot of film, we see a lot of documentaries, we see a lot of film. I don't even want to tell you how many films we watch on an annual basis. It staggers people's minds, but that's one of the things certainly about your film, that it's the heart of the story is what you're telling. The visuals are obviously a part of it. And for me, one of the things that really touched my heart in this was seeing the slideshows on the cells. Mm-hmm. I was just like, I freaking love that. I thought this was so cool, but what made you think to put that in there? It's very rare, that you see that type of thing in these type of docs. So what made you think to do that?
To put the slideshows in.
Yeah, into it. Yeah. It was really cool. I really thought that was awesome.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I'm a child of the 90s. We grew up kind of crowding around at Grandma and Grandpa's house and watching slideshows of the family. My dad is a photographer, so he would often kind of gather the family around and do a show with the slide projector on. And so for me, one of the things about documentary that is really important in my vision of documentary is the kind of textural layers that you can get. And so for me, the reason I wanted to actually film the slides as they are in analog form was to get that really textural, nostalgic feeling into the film, and take it a little bit out of this space of, just, I guess, kind of autobiography, and a little bit more into a poetic memoir sort of style. So it was it's nostalgic to me. I love film photography. I grew up with that, but it was also about the texture and the layers, and how it can also kind of pull you into the film a little bit more because of the sound and the look of it on the screen. It's just a little bit different. You're kind of, I feel like you get a little bit more of that kind of immersion from that.
Yeah, totally. I totally felt that. It was it's we talk a lot about how we love practical effects. It's you're no, screw you, CGI, screw you. screw you, crappy CGI fest. I'm going to do practical effects in my documentary. That's so awesome. So how did your collaboration with Aiden Knight come together? Was this actually original music that they did for your film?
Yeah, it was actually. I met Aiden many years ago. I was trying to remember exactly when, but I think in my like early 20s. So this is like over a decade ago, and he and I have I've kind of kept in touch with him and kept in touch with his wife over the years. And when I was starting to think about the music and who could score it, he just immediately came to mind. I think he has a lot of depth to his music. I thought that he would get it. I thought that he would understand both that this film needed to have a lot of it's heavy at times, but that it wasn't, you don't want to stay there, that there's also some lightness to it and that needed to come in, and the music couldn't drag too much or be too dramatic. And so, I've always been I'm a big fan of his music too. And so I was amazed when he was totally excited to be on the project and come along for the ride. And I think that the music turned out really beautiful, and I'm very lucky to have worked with him, and really talented musician. So
yeah, that's a huge, pun intended, that's a huge score for somebody to get original music in their first film. That's you know what, I don't know how many times we've seen a film and we're just like, this movie is now not good because the music is so bad, which did not happen at all for you. So you know what, your attention to detail and all the little things that you thought about is you're basically ticking boxes on things that we criticize other directors about. So kudos.
I appreciate that. I think that's, because I've studied so much film, that was the fear, right? I'm I know too much. I am usually the person sitting there and being, especially with documentary film, being extremely critical. So I was, I had to talk myself through the process a few times, being it's my first pancake, but at the same time, I'm glad that I was able to make something that I'm extremely proud of. So
awesome.
All right. So in this film, you tell your mom you don't share everything about yourself. What do you wish you could share with her that seems impossible, or is that just too big a question?
Ooh, yeah. It is a big question. I guess some of the things that kind of come to mind are, I'm very passionate about a lot of human rights issues and injustice happening in the world. And sometimes that comes up against her religious beliefs. It comes up against her kind of conservative upbringing. So it's multi-layered. The religion is definitely part of it. Also just grew up in a very conservative family. So it's the fact that I can't just, really get into this is this situation is breaking my heart and here's why, and feel like I can get into the depths with her. I will obviously talk about some of those things, but it remains on kind of this surface level. I don't want to push it too far. I don't want to say things that are going to be too controversial, or, it's that dance a little bit. But there's definitely situations, sitting and having a conversation with my mom and my grandma, and I'm oops, took it too far that time. And there's just crickets, there's kind of an uncomfortable silence. And a lot of it is usually related to kind of my more leftist viewpoints, but that came out of, a lot of my deconstruction too, out of Christianity. So
no doubt. It's funny because I have a similar history as you. Both my parents are still living. They're both very it's funny, they're left thinking in some things, but they are very, I call them, well, I don't want to say it out loud, but they're very Christian, put it that way. And it, I know it's not the same, but it feels, and it felt a little bit even in the film. It's almost like I'm coming out to my parents that I am not a Christian, right? Like you did that very, very well. It kind of, and the story is a tight amount of time, and you really got, everyone who watches this is going to feel, I think, similar thoughts, and it's very concise. But do you think that you could expand, like if someone came to you and said, you know what, I love this is fantastic, what do you think about doing this as a feature? Would you be able to go back and, I mean, it's going to be hard. I mean, you must have a lot of footage still, but is it something you could expand further on and create a feature out of?
That's a really good question. I think when I first thought about it, I thought about it as a feature. But now that it's made, now that this film specifically is made, I don't think I would revisit it in the same way. I have definitely thought about, I have other film ideas, and I would love to do something that dives a little bit more into the relationship between Christianity and Canada, and like society here, and dive in a little bit deeper into maybe even my own journey, my own deconstruction out of Christianity. Go a little bit further into some of that kind of family history, ancestral history with Christianity, and then how that kind of relates maybe to where we're at in Canada now, because I think it's something that not everyone realizes or maybe don't see the nuances behind it, at least having grown up in a very religious family. From the outside you can be very critical, I think, of it, but having both kind of perspectives in a way, and having come out of that, I do have a lot of more patience, I guess, for some of those conversations, but also this kind of really deep understanding of that relationship between especially evangelical Christianity and what Canada looks like today, North America looks like. So yeah, that's
I want that made, so start a Kickstarter.
Okay. Someone give me money and I'll make it.
Well, start the Kickstarter, we'll give you some money. So that's it for our formal questions. Thanks, Elyse, for joining us. Please tell our listeners any last words that you might have, or how they can worship you from afar like we do here at Film Rage.
Yeah, well, I guess, you can obviously see the film at CIFF coming up, which is really exciting, but it will also be online on NFB streaming, and that will be in mid-October somewhere. I don't have an exact date for that. So I hope that, if people can't make to see it at the festival, there will be an opportunity soon to be able to see it online. And I just, I really hope that the film resonates with people, even if they don't come from a Christian background. I think that, this idea of these conversations and hard conversations with your family, I hope that sparks some, conversations within your own circles and your own groups. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thanks, Ragers, for listening. And as a reminder, tickets are available to see this fantastic film that we absolutely loved, Unfolding Faith, in the shorts package, as Bryce has already mentioned, called Real and True. It's playing Sunday, September 21st at 2 p.m. at Contemporary Calgary Dome. Is it the world premiere?
It is the world premiere, yes.
Well, yeah. Congratulations. You're going to be there, right? So people
I will be there, yes.
that have fallen in love with your voice will get to see your face as well. So so everybody, please pick up your tickets to see this before it sells out, which we really hope it does. That's it for this special Film Rage interview sesh during Calgary International Film Festival. You can find everything you want to know about the festival at CIFF, CIFF, Calgary.ca, including a place to buy your tickets. Until next time, rage on.